I'm just going to put it out there. Race is a human construct. Race is not real. We throw that word around like it's, we kind of interchange it with ethnicity or your culture even, or your nationality. Race really does, it puts people in boxes, and it basically says that this person, because of the color of their skin, is drastically different than me. And therefore, this is the way they used it back then, and how the systems use it now is, therefore, this person of color, right, a black person, is less than this white person.
Like they're like, because of the color of your skin, you're inherently this. Like you're inherently, I guess they'll say like a beast, essentially. You know.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Let's hit the start button.
Are you nervous?
I was freezing. Like, I turned
me
this off.
too.
Sorry, guys.
I'm cold too. You good?
What's, kind of at the crux of this is this word racism, right? This word racism.
We gonna go there?
Let's kind of dissect this word racism. What is racism? When people say racism, what are they talking about? Maybe what's the origin of racism, or even race? So let's kind of dissect that a little bit.
Yeah. So I can read the definition of racism. So according to Webster, racism is a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race.
Yeah. And so, we're talking about race and racism. The issue is that most people believe that race is good, and
or even more like neutral.
Yeah.
It's just a fact of life.
Yeah, it's just is what it is. And then racism is taking something that is neutral and making it bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we're saying is, and what even scientists have said, is that race scientifically is not real. It's a false concept. Yeah. But it is real in the sense that it is political and cultural. Right? Mm-hmm. And so, but race in and of itself was built from white supremacy, where people, really how it started was scientists are trying to, in the Enlightenment age, they're trying to organize and put people in groups. And then in order to justify actions of Europeans, you had to come up with this categorization of people. We're putting in actions primarily in African countries. Mm-hmm. And so you had to say, well, it justifies us putting people in slavery and taking over their things and stealing from them because we are superior to them.
Yeah. So you're saying the genesis of race wasn't like neutral.
No.
It wasn't neutral.
No.
It was generated with an intent.
Yes.
Malicious intent.
Yes.
Yes. Very intentional.
To some people.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
And that found its way over to the United States, where, even if you talk about slavery, in everywhere else in the world, slavery was equal opportunity.
Yes.
Everybody could get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody could be a slave.
For sure.
Right? Anybody could be a slave.
No exception.
And even, there were places where even people felt that they were better than other people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it wasn't off this concept of race. That because of the color of our skin,
That's why you're a slave.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
because
why.
of the color of your skin, you're
Inherently
inherently inferior,
inferior.
right? And so they took that over to the United States, even to justify slavery,
Right.
to say that, well, of course it's okay for us to have slaves, because they are inferior to us. And so, the crazy thing is that law by law, and so when we talk about kind of even systemic racism, it's really systemic white supremacy, that laws were put in place by white men who were powerful, to keep themselves having the power,
Yes.
right? And so you even had, so there's a lot of stuff that happened, from the time that the first slaves came over to now. But I mean, you kind of sum it up to where this concept of race kind of guided it all, or at least justified it.
Like Columbus didn't come to, the undiscovered world innocently, right? Like he came with orders to kind of domesticate the savages, right? Whatever savages you find, it's like almost domesticate them, make them like us,
Savages.
Yeah, savages. Yeah.
Yes.
In
Air
quotes.
Savages and air quotes.
Air quotes,
that is
guys.
not how we personally feel about the indigenous people. Want to make that clear.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
But carry on. Or
Yeah, and so I mean, in a lot of ways, I think for a lot of people, in order to dismantle racism, we have to dismantle race. I mean, I think that's in the concept of that. And so, a lot of issues is that even when we see people, and I guess I could talk, as a black man, or really, white people to minorities, there's a sense where race says that we are totally different, right? Then when I look at you, we are totally different, right? And there's nothing reconcilable about that, right? There's no way you can fix that, because we're different. We're different types. We're different types of people, and so that's kind of my take on race and racism, and even in a lot of ways, I've heard a lady say you have to divest from whiteness.
yeah.
Right? You have to move away from this concept of whiteness, of who you have, the things that you have given up in order to be white. You said you have to divest from that, because really that was based off of something that was all about power.
Yeah.
And all about wealth and money.
Right. And when we say divest from whiteness, correct me if I'm wrong, it's divesting from whiteness in the concept of race. It's not throw away culture, your family history, your upbringing, anything like that. It's not about who you are. It's just the white being race.
Yeah, because that the concept of whiteness, it strips you of your even ethnic back, because what is done is we are all white. It strips you of your. I'm Italian. Have Italian roots. I have Irish roots. I have. It's like it strips you of that. So yeah.
And I don't know if we answered this, but the real questions you got to ask is, why was race a thing? And maybe we've talked about that.
A little
but the question is, why bring up something that's not scientific? Why use something that's not scientific? And you have to look at the actions that followed it, and it was all about power,
Right.
and justifying,
And
our
profit.
actions.
Yeah.
And so all of us as human beings, we want to feel justified in our actions. And so when someone tells you that I am more powerful than you, and that's how God set it up, then it's okay for me to do things to exert my power on you. And as human beings, we all love that.
Right.
And that's when you think about the why, it was all to justify wrong actions.
Right. Right. Does that answer your question?
That's crazy. That's crazy. Again, look, I mean, I said again, we haven't said this, but we are not experts. So, do your own research.
Right.
Go look these things up. If what we're saying sounds crazy to you and unbelievable, look it up. And we'll love to even chat with y'all.
Yeah, for sure.